early years, and family background. The true identity of Jack the Ripper remains one of history's greatest mysteries. The name Jack the Ripper is synonymous with fear, intrigue, and the dark alleys of Victorian London. While we don't know his real name, we can explore the context of the era, the possible suspects, and what might have shaped the mind of one of the most infamous serial killers in history. Jack the Ripper is believed to have been active in 1888, but to understand him, we need to look back at the world he was born into. The mid-19th century was a time of significant change and upheaval in England. The Industrial Revolution had transformed the economy, creating vast wealth for some but leaving many in abject poverty. The Victorian era. Queen Victoria ascended to the throne in 1837, and her reign saw a massive expansion of the British Empire. By the time Jack the Ripper was active, London had grown into a sprawling metropolis, teeming with life but also with crime and poverty. The East End, where the Ripper's murders took place, was notorious for its squalid conditions, overcrowding, and destitution. Social and economic conditions. The East End was a melting pot of immigrants, including Jews fleeing pogroms in Eastern Europe, Irish escaping the Great Famine, and many others seeking a better life. Unfortunately, many found only hardship. Work was scarce, and the jobs available were often dangerous and poorly paid. Women in particular had limited options, with many turning to prostitution to survive. Family life. The details of Jack the Ripper's early life are shrouded in mystery. Various theories suggest he might have been the product of a broken home or an abusive childhood. During the Victorian era, child labor was common, and many children grew up in dire conditions, contributing to a potential background of trauma and neglect. Education and psychological development education was not universally accessible, particularly for the poor. Those who did attend school often received a basic education, learning to read and write, but little more. Psychological theories about serial killers often point to early experiences of trauma, neglect, or abuse as factors that contribute to later violent behavior. If Jack the Ripper did suffer such a childhood, it might have played a role in shaping his future actions. The role of medicine. Another angle to consider is the possible medical background of Jack the Ripper. Some theories suggest he might have had medical training or worked in the medical field. The precise and gruesome nature of his killings led some to believe he had knowledge of human anatomy. Medical schools in the 19th century often used cadavers for teaching, sometimes obtained through dubious means, which could have influenced his methods. Urban legends and early suspicions. Even during his time, rumors and urban legends began to circulate about the Ripper's identity. Some suggested he was a member of the upper class, using his social position to evade suspicion. Others believed he might have been a foreigner, taking advantage of the chaotic and transient nature of East End life. Summary of early life context. While we may never know the true details of Jack the Ripper's early life, understanding the context of the era gives us insight into the world that shaped him. The Victorian era was one of stark contrasts, with great wealth alongside extreme poverty. The East End of London was a place of desperation and survival, where many turned to crime out of necessity. The setting, Whitechapel, 1888. The district of Whitechapel in London's East End was notorious for its overcrowded slums, rampant poverty, and high crime rates. By 1888, it had become a breeding ground for social ills, with many residents living in dilapidated housing, barely scraping by through casual labor, or in the case of many women, prostitution. This grim setting provided the backdrop for one of history's most chilling murder sprees. The victims? The Whitechapel murders, as they came to be known, began with a series of brutal killings that shocked the local community and grabbed the attention of the entire nation. The victims, all women, were typically middle-aged prostitutes who lived in the area. The nature of their work and their social status made them vulnerable and tragically easy targets for the Ripper. Mary Ann Nichols, the first widely accepted victim, Mary Ann Nichols, also known as Polly, was found murdered on August 31, 1888. Her body was discovered in Bucks Row, now Durward Street, Whitechapel. Nichols had been brutally attacked, with her throat slashed and her abdomen mutilated, This marked the beginning of the Ripper's horrific spree. Annie Chapman. Just over a week later, on September 8, 1888, Annie Chapman was found dead in the backyard of 29 Hanbury Street, Spitalfields. Like Nichols, her throat had been cut, and her abdomen was extensively mutilated. Some of her internal organs had been removed, indicating a level of anatomical knowledge and precision. The police response. The Metropolitan Police, specifically H Division, which covered Whitechapel, faced immense pressure as the murders continued. Led by Inspector Frederick Aberline, the police force was ill-equipped to deal with such gruesome crimes. The lack of forensic science and the chaotic nature of Whitechapel, with its narrow, dark alleys and overcrowded lodgings, made the investigation extremely challenging. Initial investigation. The police conducted door-to-door inquiries, interviewed numerous suspects, and even employed the services of bloodhounds. Despite these efforts, they faced criticism for their inability to capture the murderer. Public fear and frustration grew with each passing day. Media frenzy. The press played a significant role in shaping public perception of the murders. Sensationalist newspapers competed for readership with lurid headlines and speculative articles. The term Jack the Ripper itself emerged from a letter, purportedly written by the killer, that was sent to the Central News Agency. This letter, known as the Dear Boss letter, taunted the police and described future killings. Suspects and theories. The lack of concrete evidence led to a plethora of suspects and theories, many of which have persisted to this day. Some notable suspects from the time include Montague John Druitt, a barrister and teacher who was found drowned in the Thames in December 1888. His suicide shortly after the last known Ripper murder, coupled with some circumstantial evidence, made him a prime suspect. Aaron Kosminski, a Polish Jew who lived in Whitechapel. Kosminski was a known resident of the area and was later committed to an asylum. Some believe his mental instability and presence in Whitechapel during the murders implicate him. Michael Ostrog, a Russian-born thief and conman who was named as a suspect by police at the time. However, there was little evidence to directly connect him to the murders. George Chapman, Severin Klasowski, a Polish immigrant who later became known as a serial killer in his own right. His crimes, committed after the Ripper murders, led some to speculate he could be the Ripper. The impact on Whitechapel. The murders had a profound impact on Whitechapel and its residents. Fear gripped the community, and women were advised not to walk alone at night. The police presence increased, and vigilance committees were formed by concerned citizens. Despite these measures, the Ripper's ability to strike seemingly at will heightened the terror. The role of witnesses. Numerous witnesses came forward with various accounts, but their testimonies often contradicted each other or were deemed unreliable. Descriptions of potential suspects varied, with some witnesses reporting sightings of men in different clothing or providing conflicting physical characteristics. This added to the confusion and frustration faced by the investigators. The mystery deepens. As the autumn of 1888 progressed, the Ripper's killing spree showed no signs of abating. Each new murder brought fresh horror and further demonstrated the killer's cunning and brutality. The police, despite their best efforts, seemed no closer to apprehending the murderer. The double event. The murders committed by Jack the Ripper escalated in brutality and frequency, culminating in what became known as the double event on September 30, 1888. This night saw the killings of 2 women within a single hour, intensifying the fear and urgency within the community and police force. Elizabeth Stride. Elizabeth Stride, also known as Long Liz, was the first victim of the double event. Her body was found in Dutfield's yard off Berner Street, now Henriquez Street, at approximately 1 a.m. Unlike the previous victims, Stride's body showed only a single slash to the throat, and her abdomen was not mutilated. This led some to speculate that the Ripper was interrupted before he could complete his grisly ritual. Catherine Eddowes. Less than an hour later, Catherine Eddowes was found murdered in Mitre Square in the City of London. Eddowes's body was mutilated in a manner consistent with the previous victims, with her throat cut and her abdomen viciously slashed. Her face had also been disfigured, and her kidney and part of her uterus were removed. The Goulston Street Graffito. After the discovery of Eddowes's body, a piece of her blood-stained apron was found in Goulston Street, Whitechapel. Above the apron, written in chalk on a nearby wall, was a cryptic message: "The Jews are the men that will not be blamed for nothing." The exact meaning of the graffito remains unclear, but it fueled anti-Semitic sentiments in the area and further complicated the investigation. The police, concerned about potential riots, ordered the message to be erased before it could be photographed. The letters. Throughout the autumn of 1888, several letters were received by the police and the press, purportedly from Jack the Ripper. These letters varied in tone and content, but two in particular stand out. The Dear Boss letter, received by the Central News Agency on September 27, 1888. This letter was signed Jack the Ripper and contained taunts directed at the police. It also mentioned cutting off the ears of the next victim, a detail that matched the injuries found on Catherine Eddowes, although her ears were not actually removed. The Saucy Jackie postcard. Arriving on October 1, 1888, this postcard referred to the double event and suggested that both murders occurred on the same night. The timing of the postcard's delivery led some to believe it was genuine, although others argue it could have been a hoax. Escalation of fear. The double event significantly heightened the public's fear and the media's frenzy. The murders were front-page news, and the police were under immense pressure to capture the killer. The authorities increased patrols and employed various strategies, including offering a reward for information and consulting with criminal profilers, such as Dr. Thomas Bond, who provided an early psychological profile of the Ripper. Police Tactics Inspector Frederick Aberline, leading the investigation, and his colleagues employed numerous tactics to catch the Ripper. They interviewed hundreds of people, followed up on countless leads, and even disguised officers as women to try and catch the killer in the act. Despite these efforts, the Ripper continued to elude capture, moving like a phantom through the foggy streets of Whitechapel. The public's response. The community of Whitechapel responded to the murders with a mix of fear and outrage. Vigilance committees were formed, with local residents patrolling the streets in an attempt to protect their neighborhoods and assist the police. These committees, while well-intentioned, sometimes hampered the investigation by spreading rumors and interfering with police work. Theories and suspects. As the murders continued, theories about the Ripper's identity proliferated. Some believed he was a member of the upper class, able to blend in and avoid suspicion. Others thought he might be a foreigner, preying on the vulnerable women of the East End. The range of suspects included doctors, butchers, and even members of the royal family, reflecting the widespread fear and speculation gripping the city. The impact of the murders. The ongoing killings had a profound impact on London and its inhabitants. The Ripper's ability to strike seemingly at will created an atmosphere of terror and uncertainty. Women, especially those in vulnerable positions, lived in constant fear. The police, despite their best efforts, were criticized for their inability to protect the community and capture the murderer. The next victim. The next known victim would meet a fate even more gruesome than those before her, as the Ripper's reign of terror showed no signs of abating. Each new murder seemed to demonstrate an increasing level of brutality and precision, leaving the police and public more desperate for answers. Background of Mary Jane Kelly. Mary Jane Kelly, often considered the last of the canonical 5 victims, was a 25-year-old woman who worked as a prostitute in the East End of London. Little is known about her early life, and much of what we do know comes from her own accounts, which may not be entirely accurate. She was born in Ireland around 1863 and moved to Wales with her family at a young age. By her late teens, she had made her way to London, where she eventually found herself in Whitechapel. Life in Whitechapel. In Whitechapel, Kelly lived in various lodging houses and often shared accommodations with other women in similar circumstances. By the time of her death, she was residing at 13 Miller's Court, a small room off Dorset Street, one of the most notorious streets in the East End. Dorset Street was a place of extreme poverty, crime, and vice, where many of the area's most desperate residents struggled to survive. The discovery of the crime. On the morning of November 9, 1888, Kelly's landlord, John McCarthy, sent his assistant Thomas Bowyer to collect overdue rent from her. When Bowyer arrived at Miller's Court, he knocked on the door but received no response. Peering through a broken window pane, he was met with a horrific sight that would become etched in the annals of criminal history. The scene: Mary Jane Kelly's mutilated body lay on the bed in her small room. The level of violence and mutilation inflicted upon her surpassed that of the previous victims. Her throat had been severed down to the spine, and her abdomen was eviscerated, with many of her internal organs removed and placed around the room. Her face was so badly disfigured that it was barely recognizable. The walls were splattered with blood, indicating a ferocious and prolonged attack. Police Investigation Inspector Frederick Aberline and other senior officers arrived quickly at the scene. The brutality of Kelly's murder shocked even the most experienced detectives. The confined space of her room allowed for a more detailed examination of the crime scene compared to the previous outdoor locations. Forensic observations: positioning of the body. Kelly's body was positioned on the bed, with her legs spread apart and her torso mutilated. The extensive facial mutilations suggested a deep-seated rage and perhaps an attempt to dehumanize the victim further. Removal of organs. Several of Kelly's organs were removed and placed around the room. Her heart was notably missing from the scene. The precision of the cuts led investigators to believe that the killer possessed some anatomical knowledge, though the exact level of this knowledge remained a topic of debate. Time of death. Based on witness statements and forensic evidence, it was estimated that Kelly was murdered in the early hours of the morning. Neighbors reported hearing a cry of "murder" around 4 a.m., but such cries were not uncommon in the violent environment of Whitechapel and often went ignored. Public reaction. The murder of Mary Jane Kelly sent shockwaves through London. The press coverage was extensive, with newspapers publishing detailed and often sensationalized accounts of the crime. Public fear and outrage reached new heights, as the Ripper had demonstrated an ability to strike with unparalleled savagery. Community response. The residents of Whitechapel were gripped by terror. The vigilante groups became more active, and the police increased patrols in a desperate effort to prevent further murders. Women in the area took extra precautions, and the sense of unease permeated daily life. Media frenzy. The media's portrayal of the murders contributed to the widespread panic. Graphic descriptions and lurid illustrations of the crime scene filled the newspapers. The press also continued to speculate on the identity of the Ripper, with various theories and suspects being discussed openly. Theories and suspects. Following Kelly's murder, several suspects came under increased scrutiny. Joseph Barnett, Kelly's former lover and roommate, Barnett was questioned extensively by the police. He provided a detailed account of his relationship with Kelly and his whereabouts on the night of the murder. Although he had a strong motive, jealousy and anger over Kelly's return to prostitution, there was insufficient evidence to charge him. George Hutchinson, a local laborer, Hutchinson claimed to have seen Kelly with a well-dressed man shortly before her death. His detailed statement raised suspicions, as it seemed unusually precise. Some theorists have suggested that Hutchinson himself could have been the Ripper, though this remains speculative. Other suspects. Various other individuals, including Montague John Druitt, Aaron Kosminski, and Michael Ostrog, remained on the police radar. Each had their own set of circumstances that made them potential suspects, but concrete evidence was lacking. The investigation's challenges. The investigation into Kelly's murder faced numerous challenges. The lack of advanced forensic techniques and the chaotic environment of Whitechapel made it difficult to gather reliable evidence. Witnesses often provided conflicting accounts, and the police were overwhelmed by the sheer volume of information and tips, many of which were spurious. Police Frustration Inspector Aberline and his team were increasingly frustrated by their inability to catch the Ripper. Despite their best efforts, the killer remained elusive, and the pressure from both the public and the media was immense. The failure to solve the case led to widespread criticism of the police and calls for reforms in their methods and practices. The aftermath. Mary Jane Kelly's murder marked the end of the canonical 5 victims, but the fear and uncertainty lingered long after. The police continued their investigations, and the public remained on edge, unsure if and when the Ripper might strike again. Immediate aftermath. The murder of Mary Jane Kelly on November 9, 1888, marked the climax of Jack the Ripper's known killing spree. The sheer brutality of her murder left an indelible mark on the community of Whitechapel and the broader public. In the immediate aftermath, the police intensified their efforts to capture the killer, though with little success. Heightened policing efforts. Following Kelly's murder, the Metropolitan Police, under the command of Sir Charles Warren, ramped up their efforts to catch the Ripper. Additional officers were deployed to patrol the streets of Whitechapel, and existing leads were re-examined with renewed vigor. The police also continued to liaise with the City of London Police, given that one of the murders had occurred within their jurisdiction. Special Branch Involvement. Special Branch, initially created to combat Fenian terrorism, was also involved in the investigation. This collaboration highlighted the seriousness with which the authorities were treating the case. Despite these efforts, the Ripper continued to evade capture, and the lack of forensic technology severely hampered the investigation. Public reaction and media coverage. The murder of Mary Jane Kelly intensified public fear and media scrutiny. Newspapers provided extensive, often sensationalized coverage of the case, keeping it in the public eye and maintaining pressure on the police to solve the murders. Continued media frenzy. The press continued to speculate on the identity of the Ripper, publishing various theories and suspect profiles. Letters purportedly from the Ripper, such as the From Hell letter received by George Lusk of the Whitechapel Vigilance Committee, added to the media frenzy. These letters, although often dismissed as hoaxes, kept the case alive in the public consciousness. Public outcry. The fear generated by the murders led to an outcry for improved public safety. The residents of Whitechapel demanded more effective policing and better living conditions, highlighting the broader social issues that contributed to the vulnerability of the Ripper's victims. The investigation's legacy. The failure to capture Jack the Ripper had significant implications for policing in London. The case exposed deficiencies in the police force's methods and resources, prompting calls for reforms. Policing reforms improved record-keeping. The Ripper case underscored the need for better record-keeping and communication between different police forces. Efforts were made to standardize reporting and improve information sharing. Forensic advances. Although forensic science was in its infancy, the Ripper case highlighted its potential importance. Subsequent years saw the development of fingerprinting and other forensic techniques that would become crucial in solving future crimes. Community policing. The murders also underscored the need for stronger community-police relations. The establishment of community policing initiatives aimed to build trust and cooperation between the police and the public. Continued investigations and theories. Despite the lapse in active murders, the investigation into Jack the Ripper continued for many years. Numerous suspects and theories emerged, some based on contemporary evidence and others on modern reinterpretations. Key suspects: Montague John Druitt, a barrister and teacher whose body was found in the Thames shortly after the last canonical murder. His suspected mental instability and the timing of his death made him a prime suspect. Aaron Kosminski, a Polish Jewish immigrant who was admitted to an asylum in 1891. Contemporary reports and later DNA analysis linked him to the crimes, though the evidence remains controversial. Michael Ostrog, a Russian conman and thief named in the 1894 MacNaughton Memorandum as a suspect, though no concrete evidence linked him to the murders. George Chapman, Severin Klasowski, a Polish-born barber who later became a convicted serial killer. His proximity to the murders and later crimes suggested a possible link. Thomas Cutbush, a medical student who was institutionalized for violent behavior. His profile and actions bore similarities to those attributed to the Ripper. Modern investigations. Modern investigators and historians have continued to explore the case, employing advanced techniques such as DNA analysis and digital reconstructions. Books, documentaries, and academic studies have kept the Ripper story alive, each presenting new theories and interpretations. Cultural impact. The story of Jack the Ripper has permeated popular culture, inspiring countless books, films, and other media. The image of the Ripper, cloaked in fog and mystery, has become a symbol of the dark side of Victorian London. Literature and film books. Numerous authors have tackled the Ripper case, from historical accounts to fictionalized narratives. Works such as Patricia Cornwell's Portrait of a Killer and Philip Sugden's The Complete History of Jack the Ripper have explored different aspects of the case. Films and TV. The Ripper has been portrayed in various films and television series, often emphasizing the mystery and horror of the case. Notable examples include Alfred Hitchcock's The Lodger and the TV series Ripper Street. Museums and tours. The enduring fascination with Jack the Ripper has led to the establishment of museums and walking tours in London. These attractions draw visitors from around the world, eager to walk in the footsteps of the infamous killer and explore the streets of Whitechapel. The search for answers. Despite over a century of investigation and speculation, the true identity of Jack the Ripper remains unknown. The case continues to captivate the imagination of both amateur sleuths and professional criminologists, symbolizing the ultimate unsolved mystery: public perception of crime. The Jack the Ripper murders profoundly influenced Victorian society's view of crime and safety. The unprecedented brutality of the killings, coupled with the media's intense coverage, brought the realities of violent crime into the public consciousness like never before. Fear and panic. The fear generated by the Ripper's killings spread far beyond the boundaries of Whitechapel. Residents of London and indeed much of Britain were gripped by a sense of panic. Women were especially fearful, altering their routines to avoid walking alone at night. The murders highlighted the vulnerability of certain social groups, particularly poor women who were forced into prostitution to survive. Sensationalism and the media. The role of the press in shaping public perception cannot be overstated. Newspapers of the time, including The Times and the Illustrated Police News, capitalized on the public's morbid fascination with the murders. Sensationalist headlines and lurid illustrations fed the collective fear and curiosity, ensuring that the case dominated the news cycle. Penny dreadfuls, cheap sensationalist publications known as penny dreadfuls, reached a wide audience, often embellishing details and creating a macabre narrative around the Ripper. Editorials and opinions. Beyond sensationalism, editorials and opinion pieces reflected and amplified public anxiety, calling for greater police protection and social reforms. Influence on the criminal justice system. The failures and challenges faced by the police during the Ripper investigation had lasting effects on the criminal justice system in Britain. The public and political reaction to these failures prompted a re-evaluation of policing methods and criminal investigations. Policing reforms detective work. The shortcomings in the Ripper investigation highlighted the need for specialized detective work. This led to an increased emphasis on training detectives and developing more systematic investigative procedures. Forensic science. Although forensic science was in its infancy during the Ripper murders, the case underscored its potential importance. Over the following decades, advancements in fingerprinting, blood analysis, and other forensic techniques began to transform criminal investigations. Legal and social reforms. Public safety laws. The outcry over the Ripper's ability to evade capture led to the implementation of new public safety measures and laws aimed at improving urban safety and policing. Social welfare. The murders brought attention to the dire conditions in areas like Whitechapel. Philanthropists and social reformers pushed for improved housing, better working conditions, and support for the impoverished, aiming to address some of the root causes of crime. The changing role of women. The Jack the Ripper case also had a significant impact on the social discourse surrounding the role and treatment of women in Victorian society. The plight of the Ripper's victims, all of whom were women living on the margins of society, highlighted broader issues of gender inequality and social neglect. Gender and vulnerability. Prostitution and poverty. The case shed light on the harsh realities faced by many women who turned to prostitution out of economic necessity. The public's awareness of these conditions spurred discussions about the need for social support and legal protections for vulnerable women. Victim blaming. The media coverage and public discourse sometimes veered into victim blaming, reflecting the prevalent societal attitudes toward women, particularly those involved in prostitution. This led to critical discussions about how society viewed and treated women who were seen as fallen. Women's rights movement. The heightened awareness of the dangers faced by women and the harsh conditions of their lives contributed to the burgeoning women's rights movement in Britain. Advocacy and reform. Women's rights activists used the Ripper case to highlight the need for legal and social reforms. Campaigns for women's suffrage, better working conditions, and improved social services gained momentum. Protective legislation. Efforts to pass protective legislation for women gained support, leading to incremental changes that aim to provide better safety and economic opportunities for women. Long-term social changes. The Ripper murders were a catalyst for broader social changes in Victorian society. They forced the public and policymakers to confront issues of urban poverty, public safety, and social justice. Urban renewal. In the years following the Ripper murders, efforts to renew and improve London's East End gained traction. Slum clearance programs, improved sanitation, and the construction of better housing aimed to address some of the social problems that had been so starkly highlighted by the murders. Public health. The connection between poor living conditions and crime highlighted by the Ripper case contributed to the emerging public health movement. Efforts to improve public health through better housing, sanitation, and medical care gained momentum, influenced by the belief that a healthier urban environment could help reduce crime. Legacy of the Ripper case. The legacy of the Jack the Ripper case is multifaceted. It left an enduring mark on the fields of criminology, forensic science, and public policy. The societal changes it prompted in terms of policing, social welfare, and gender equality are still felt today. Cultural influence. The story of Jack the Ripper has remained a powerful cultural symbol, representing the fears and fascinations of Victorian society. It has inspired countless works of fiction, academic studies, and popular media, ensuring that the case continues to capture the public imagination. Advances in forensic science. Since the time of the original investigations, significant advances in forensic science have revolutionized the field of criminal investigation. These developments have opened new avenues for exploring historical cases, including that of Jack the Ripper. DNA analysis, mitochondrial DNA testing. In the early 21st century, researchers attempted to use mitochondrial DNA to identify the Ripper. Items such as the shawl purportedly belonging to Catherine Eddowes were tested, yielding results that sparked debate. One notable test linked the DNA to descendants of Aaron Kosminski, though the methodology and conclusions remain contentious. Modern techniques, advances in DNA extraction and analysis continue to offer the potential for new breakthroughs. Techniques such as next-generation sequencing could, in theory, provide more conclusive evidence if sufficiently preserved biological material is found. Geographic profiling. Geographic profiling has been applied to the Ripper case to predict the likely residential location of the killer based on the distribution of crime scenes. These analyses suggest that Jack the Ripper might have lived within a short distance of the murder sites, possibly in the heart of Whitechapel. Re-examining the evidence. Modern investigators and historians have re-examined the available evidence using contemporary methodologies. This includes reanalyzing witness statements, police reports, and the physical evidence that has survived. Behavioral analysis, criminal profiling. Applying modern criminal profiling techniques, experts have attempted to construct a more accurate psychological profile of Jack the Ripper. These profiles often describe a man with deep-seated rage, potentially driven by personal or societal grievances, and possessing at least some anatomical knowledge. Victimology. Understanding the backgrounds and behaviors of the victims provides insights into the Ripper's methods and choices. Patterns in the victims' lifestyles, movements, and social interactions help frame theories about the Ripper's identity and motivations. Digital reconstructions. Digital reconstructions and virtual reality technologies have allowed investigators to recreate the crime scenes with unprecedented detail. These tools help in understanding the sequence of events and the killer's actions during each murder. Contemporary theories and suspects. The case of Jack the Ripper has inspired a multitude of theories, ranging from the plausible to the highly speculative. Modern investigations have focused on several key suspects, each with their own set of circumstantial evidence. Aaron Kosminski. Aaron Kosminski remains one of the most frequently cited suspects. A Polish-Jewish immigrant and resident of Whitechapel, Kosminski was committed to an asylum in 1891. DNA evidence linked to him, while disputed, has kept him at the forefront of modern theories. Walter Sickert. The British artist Walter Sickert has been proposed as a suspect by authors such as Patricia Cornwell, who argues that his paintings and writings reveal a morbid fascination with the murders. Critics of this theory point out the lack of direct evidence linking Sickert to the crimes. Francis Tumblety. Francis Tumblety, an American quack doctor who was in London at the time of the murders, has also been suggested as a suspect. Tumblety was known for his misogynistic attitudes and was arrested in connection with the murders, but fled to the United States before he could be thoroughly investigated. James Maybrick. James Maybrick, a Liverpool cotton merchant, was named as a suspect following the discovery of a diary purportedly written by him, confessing to the murders. The authenticity of the diary is hotly debated, and many experts consider it a hoax. The role of technological advancements continue to impact the investigation of historical cases like that of Jack the Ripper. Tools, such as artificial intelligence and machine learning, are being explored for their potential to sift through vast amounts of historical data, uncover patterns, and generate new leads. Big data and pattern recognition. Analyzing large data sets of historical records, including census data, police reports, and newspaper archives, allows researchers to identify patterns and connections that might have been overlooked. This can lead to new insights into the Ripper's identity and activities. Artificial intelligence AI algorithms can assist in identifying linguistic patterns in the Ripper letters and other contemporary documents. These analyses might help authenticate letters, connect them to known individuals, or even provide psychological insights into the author. The enduring mystery. Despite these modern efforts, the identity of Jack the Ripper remains one of history's most enduring mysteries. The lack of definitive evidence, combined with the passage of time, makes it unlikely that the case will ever be conclusively solved. However, the fascination with the Ripper persists, driven by the combination of historical intrigue, criminal psychology, and the macabre nature of the crimes. Historical significance. The Jack the Ripper case has had a lasting impact on the fields of criminology and forensic science. It serves as a reminder of the limitations of historical investigative techniques and the importance of advancements in forensic technology. Cultural legacy. The story of Jack the Ripper continues to captivate the public imagination, inspiring books, films, and scholarly research. The Ripper has become a cultural icon, representing the dark underbelly of Victorian London and the complexities of human nature. The rise of the Ripper mythos. The Jack the Ripper case has transcended its historical roots to become a global cultural phenomenon. The combination of gruesome crimes, a mysterious perpetrator, and the atmospheric setting of Victorian London has captured the imagination of people worldwide. Early popularity. The immediate aftermath of the Ripper murders saw an explosion of interest in the case. Newspapers in Britain and abroad provided extensive coverage, and the public's fascination grew as each new murder was reported. Penny dreadfuls and pulp fiction. The late 19th and early 20th centuries saw the publication of numerous sensational stories and novels inspired by the Ripper case. These publications often blurred the line between fact and fiction, contributing to the mythologization of Jack the Ripper. Stage plays and dramas. Theatrical adaptations of the Ripper story began appearing as early as the 1890s. These plays dramatized the events, often incorporating fictional elements to heighten the suspense and horror. Jack the Ripper in literature. The Ripper has inspired a vast body of literature ranging from serious historical analyses to speculative fiction. Notable works from Hell by Alan Moore and Eddie Campbell. This graphic novel explores the Ripper case through a fictionalized narrative, blending historical facts with speculative fiction. It delves into conspiracy theories and the socio-political context of the murders. The Complete History of Jack the Ripper by Philip Sugden. A comprehensive and scholarly account of the Ripper murders, this book is considered one of the most authoritative works on the subject, providing detailed analysis and historical context. Portrait of a Killer, Jack the Ripper, Case Closed, by Patricia Cornwell. This book posits that artist Walter Sickert was the Ripper, presenting a combination of forensic evidence and historical research to support the theory. Fictionalized accounts. Numerous novels and short stories have fictionalized the Ripper case, exploring it from various angles, including those of the victims, the investigators, and the killer himself. These works often incorporate elements of horror, mystery, and suspense. Jack the Ripper in film and television. The Ripper has been a popular subject in film and television, with numerous adaptations and interpretations over the decades. Key films and series: The Lodger, A Story of the London Fog, 1927. Directed by Alfred Hitchcock, this silent film is one of the earliest cinematic interpretations of the Ripper story. It follows a lodger suspected of being the Ripper. From Hell, 2001. Based on the graphic novel by Alan Moore, this film stars Johnny Depp as Inspector Frederick Aberline and delves into the conspiracy theories surrounding the Ripper case. Ripper Street, 2012 to 2016. This television series, set in the aftermath of the Ripper murders, follows the detectives of H Division as they investigate crimes in Whitechapel. It blends historical elements with fictional storylines. Documentary and investigative series. Numerous documentaries and investigative series have examined the Ripper case, presenting historical evidence, modern theories, and forensic analyses. These programs often feature expert commentary and reenactments to bring the case to life for contemporary audiences. Jack the Ripper in popular culture. The Ripper has become a pervasive figure in popular culture, influencing various media and artistic expressions. Music and art songs and albums. The Ripper has been referenced in songs by artists ranging from heavy metal bands like Judas Priest to punk bands like The Horrors. These musical works often emphasize the macabre and mysterious aspects of the case. Visual art. The Ripper has inspired numerous visual artists who have depicted the murders, the killer, and Victorian London in a variety of styles. These artworks often reflect the dark and eerie atmosphere associated with the case. Tourism and memorabilia. Ripper tours. Guided walking tours of the Ripper's haunts in Whitechapel have become a popular tourist attraction in London. These tours blend historical facts with dramatic storytelling to engage visitors. Museums and exhibits. Exhibits dedicated to the Ripper can be found in various museums, offering visitors a chance to see artifacts, documents, and reconstructions related to the case. Collectibles and memorabilia. The enduring fascination with the Ripper has led to the production of various collectibles, including books, posters, and replica artifacts. These items cater to both casual fans and serious collectors. Global perspectives. The story of Jack the Ripper has resonated beyond the borders of the United Kingdom, influencing crime fiction and investigative approaches worldwide. Comparative studies serial killers in history. The Ripper case is often compared to other infamous serial killers, such as the Zodiac Killer in the United States and the Monster of Florence in Italy. These comparisons highlight similarities and differences in methods, motives, and the societal impact of their crimes. Cross-cultural interpretations. Different cultures have interpreted the Ripper case through their own lenses, producing unique adaptations and theories. For instance, Japanese manga and anime have featured the Ripper in various guises, blending Western historical elements with Japanese storytelling traditions. Influence on criminal profiling. The methodologies developed during and after the Ripper investigation have influenced modern criminal profiling techniques. The case is frequently studied in criminology courses and has contributed to the evolution of forensic science and investigative practices. The ongoing quest for answers. Despite the passage of time, the quest to uncover the true identity of Jack the Ripper continues to captivate researchers and enthusiasts. Modern investigations cold case units. Some modern police departments have cold case units that occasionally revisit historical cases like that of Jack the Ripper, applying new technologies and methodologies in the hope of finding answers. Amateur sleuths. The Ripper case has a dedicated community of amateur sleuths who pore over historical documents, share theories, and collaborate on research projects. Online forums and discussion groups provide platforms for these enthusiasts to exchange ideas and findings. Technological innovations, advances in technology such as genetic genealogy and advanced data analysis, hold the potential to uncover new clues and insights into the Ripper case, keeping the hope of solving the mystery alive. Montague John Druitt. Montague John Druitt is one of the earliest and most enduring suspects in the Jack the Ripper case. A barrister and teacher, Druitt's name first came to prominence due to a memorandum written by Sir Melville Macnaghten, the Assistant Commissioner of the Metropolitan Police. Background and circumstances, profession, and lifestyle. Druitt was a well-educated man from a respectable family, making him an unlikely suspect at first glance. However, his double life as a barrister and a schoolteacher, combined with the pressures of both roles, may have contributed to psychological strain. Death and timing. Druitt's body was found in the River Thames in early December 1888, just a few weeks after the last canonical Ripper murder. He had committed suicide, and the timing of his death has led some to speculate that he was the Ripper, ending his life as a way to escape capture or due to a guilty conscience. Evidence and theories. Macnaghten Memorandum. Sir Melville Macnaghten's memorandum, written in 1894, lists Druitt as a primary suspect, noting that he had a history of mental instability and that his family suspected him of being the Ripper. Mental health. It is believed that Druitt suffered from mental health issues, possibly exacerbated by the death of his mother, who was also mentally ill. This has led some to theorize that he might have experienced a breakdown leading to violent behavior. Lack of direct evidence. Despite the circumstantial evidence, there is no direct link between Druitt and the Ripper murders. Critics argue that the connection is based largely on timing and speculation. Aaron Kosminski. Aaron Kosminski, a Polish-Jewish immigrant, is another leading suspect in the Ripper case. He was identified as a suspect by several senior police officials and has been the subject of extensive modern scrutiny. Background and circumstances. Immigrant experience. Kosminski came to London as part of a wave of Jewish immigrants fleeing pogroms in Eastern Europe. He lived in Whitechapel, close to the murder sites, and worked as a hairdresser. Mental health. Kosminski suffered from severe mental illness, including delusions and paranoia. He was committed to an asylum in 1891, where he remained until his death. Evidence and theories. Witness identification. It is claimed that a witness identified Kosminski as the Ripper, but refused to testify, possibly due to fear of retaliation or anti-Semitic backlash. This identification was noted in police records but lacked formal corroboration. Forensic evidence. In recent years, DNA testing on a shawl purportedly belonging to Catherine Eddowes has suggested a link to Kosminski. However, the provenance of the shawl and the reliability of the DNA analysis have been questioned. Police opinions. Prominent figures such as Sir Robert Anderson and Chief Inspector Donald Swanson strongly believed Kosminski was the Ripper, citing his mental instability and proximity to the crimes. Francis Tumblety. Francis Tumblety was an American quack doctor who was in London at the time of the Ripper murders. His flamboyant personality and suspicious activities have made him a notable suspect. Background and circumstances. Travel and lifestyle. Tumblety traveled extensively between the United States and Europe, often posing as a wealthy physician. His dubious medical practices and eccentric behavior drew attention wherever he went. Arrest and flight. Tumblety was arrested in London in connection with the Ripper investigation, but was released on bail. He subsequently fled to the United States, raising suspicions about his involvement. Evidence and theories. Medical knowledge. Tumblety's supposed medical knowledge fits the profile of a killer with anatomical expertise, though his actual qualifications are questionable. Suspicious behavior. Tumblety's flight from London and his history of run-ins with the law in both America and Britain have fueled theories about his guilt. Contemporary accusations. Newspaper reports from the time and subsequent accounts by individuals such as Inspector Littlechild implicated Tumblety in the murders, though solid evidence is lacking. Walter Sickert. Walter Sickert, a prominent British artist, has been suggested as a suspect primarily through the work of author Patricia Cornwell, who proposed a detailed theory in her book, Portrait of a Killer, Jack the Ripper, Case Closed. Background and circumstances. Artistic career. Sickert was a well-known artist whose work often depicted scenes of urban life. His paintings sometimes contained disturbing and violent themes, which some interpret as evidence of a morbid fascination with the murders. Connection to the case. Sickert claimed to have lodged in a room once used by the Ripper, a fact that has been used to link him to the case, though it is largely anecdotal. Evidence and theories. Forensic analysis. Cornwell conducted forensic tests on Sickert's letters and art supplies, claiming to find a match with the Ripper letters. Critics argue that this evidence is circumstantial and that the methods used were not rigorous enough to be conclusive. Psychological profile. Sickert's purported misogyny and dark subject matter in his art have been used to build a psychological profile that some say fits the Ripper. Lack of direct evidence. As with many Ripper suspects, there is no direct evidence linking Sickert to the murders. The theory relies heavily on interpretative connections and forensic results that are widely disputed. James Maybrick. James Maybrick, a Liverpool cotton merchant, became a suspect following the discovery of a diary allegedly written by him, confessing to the Ripper murders. Background and circumstances. Affluent lifestyle. Maybrick was a wealthy man involved in the cotton trade. His high social standing makes him an unusual suspect compared to others from the impoverished East End. Health issues. Maybrick suffered from health problems and was known to use arsenic and other substances, which might have affected his mental state. Evidence and theories. The Maybrick Diary. The diary, discovered in the 1990s, contains a confession to the Ripper murders. However, its authenticity has been hotly debated, with many experts considering it a modern forgery. Supporting documents. In addition to the diary, a pocket watch purportedly belonging to Maybrick and inscribed with a confession has been presented as evidence. The credibility of this item is also disputed. Skepticism and controversy. Most historians and Ripperologists regard the Maybrick theory with skepticism, pointing out inconsistencies and the lack of verifiable evidence. Conclusion of the suspects. The diversity of suspects in the Jack the Ripper case reflects the complexity and enduring mystery surrounding the identity of the killer. Each suspect presents a unique combination of circumstantial evidence, historical context, and speculative theory, contributing to the rich tapestry of one of history's greatest unsolved crimes. Influence on criminal investigations. The Jack the Ripper case had a profound impact on the field of criminal investigations, shaping modern policing techniques and investigative methodologies. The challenges faced by investigators in 1888 highlighted the need for advancements in various areas of criminal justice. Evolution of detective work. Systematic investigations. The Ripper case underscored the importance of a systematic approach to criminal investigations. This led to the development of more structured procedures for collecting and analyzing evidence, interviewing witnesses, and coordinating efforts across different jurisdictions. Record-keeping and databases. The failure to capture Jack the Ripper highlighted the need for better record-keeping and information sharing. This eventually led to the establishment of centralized databases for tracking suspects and criminal activities, aiding in the identification and apprehension of serial offenders. Development of profiling techniques. Criminal profiling. The psychological analysis of the Ripper's behavior and the nature of his crimes laid the groundwork for modern criminal profiling. Investigators began to consider the psychological traits and motivations of offenders, leading to more sophisticated profiling techniques used in contemporary investigations. Behavioral analysis. The study of the Ripper's methods and victim selection contributed to the understanding of behavioral patterns in serial killers. This knowledge has been instrumental in developing strategies for predicting and preventing future crimes. Advances in forensic science. The limitations of forensic science during the time of the Ripper murders prompted significant advancements in the field. The need for more reliable methods of evidence analysis became apparent, driving the development of new forensic techniques. Fingerprinting. Introduction of fingerprinting. Although not used during the Ripper investigation, the need for accurate identification methods led to the adoption of fingerprinting in the early 20th century. This revolutionary technique provided a reliable means of linking suspects to crime scenes. Fingerprint databases. The creation of fingerprint databases allowed for the systematic cataloging and comparison of prints, enhancing the ability of law enforcement to identify repeat offenders and solve crimes more efficiently. DNA analysis. Genetic profiling. Advances in DNA analysis have transformed forensic science, allowing for the identification of individuals based on genetic material. The potential application of DNA testing to historical cases like the Ripper murders has opened new avenues for investigation. Cold case investigations. The use of DNA evidence has become a cornerstone of cold case investigations. By re-examining old evidence with modern techniques, investigators have been able to solve cases that were previously thought to be unsolvable. Forensic pathology autopsy techniques. The Ripper case underscored the importance of detailed autopsies in understanding the nature of violent crimes. Forensic pathology has since evolved to include more precise methods for determining the cause and manner of death. Crime scene investigation. Improved protocols for crime scene investigation have been developed to ensure the thorough collection and preservation of evidence. This includes the use of advanced imaging techniques and the meticulous documentation of crime scenes. Impact on public policy and legal reforms. The public outcry and media attention surrounding the Ripper murders led to significant changes in public policy and legal reforms aimed at improving public safety and the effectiveness of law enforcement. Public safety measures increased police presence. The fear generated by the Rippers' actions prompted calls for increased police presence in urban areas. This led to the deployment of more officers and the establishment of specialized units to handle violent crimes. Street lighting and surveillance. Improvements in street lighting and the introduction of surveillance measures were implemented to enhance public safety and deter criminal activity. These changes contributed to the reduction of crime in densely populated urban areas. Legal reforms. Legislation for prostitution. The plight of the Rippers' victims, many of whom were prostitutes, highlighted the need for legal reforms to protect vulnerable women. This led to changes in laws regarding prostitution and the implementation of social services to support those at risk. Victim support services. The Ripper case underscored the importance of providing support services for victims of crime. The establishment of victim support organizations aimed to offer assistance and advocacy for individuals affected by violent crime. Influence on popular culture and media. The Jack the Ripper case has had a lasting impact on popular culture and media, shaping the way crime stories are told and consumed by the public. Literary influence. Crime fiction. The Ripper case has inspired countless works of crime fiction, influencing authors such as Arthur Conan Doyle and Agatha Christie. The themes of mystery and intrigue associated with the Ripper have become staples of the genre. True crime genre. The fascination with the Ripper murders contributed to the rise of the true crime genre. Books, documentaries, and podcasts exploring real-life criminal cases have become immensely popular, often drawing on the narrative style established by early Ripper accounts. Visual media. Films and television. The Ripper story has been adapted into numerous films and television series, each offering different interpretations of the events. These adaptations have helped to cement the Ripper's place in popular culture as an enigmatic and terrifying figure. Documentaries and series. The Ripper case continues to be a subject of interest for documentary filmmakers. Series such as Jack the Ripper: The Definitive Story and Ripper Street explore the historical context and enduring mystery of the case, blending factual analysis with dramatic storytelling. Educational impact. The study of the Jack the Ripper case has become an important part of criminology and forensic science education, providing valuable lessons for students and professionals in the field. Criminology courses. Case studies. The Ripper case is often used as a case study in criminology courses to illustrate the complexities of criminal investigations and the development of investigative techniques. Historical context. Understanding the historical context of the Ripper murders helps students appreciate the social, economic, and political factors that influence criminal behavior and law enforcement responses. Forensic science education. Practical applications. The challenges faced during the Ripper investigation highlight the importance of forensic science in solving crimes. Students learn about the evolution of forensic techniques and their application in modern investigations. Ethical considerations. The ethical implications of forensic work, including the handling of evidence and the treatment of suspects and victims, are emphasized through the study of historical cases, like that of Jack the Ripper. The Royal Conspiracy. One of the most enduring and sensational theories about Jack the Ripper involves members of the British royal family. This theory posits that the murders were part of a cover-up to protect the reputation of the royal family. Prince Albert Victor. Background: Prince Albert Victor, Duke of Clarence and Avondale, was the grandson of Queen Victoria and second in line to the British throne. Known for his dissolute lifestyle, rumors about his involvement in the murders began circulating in the late 20th century. Theories. Some theorists claim that Prince Albert Victor fathered a child with a working-class woman, and that this connection had to be silenced to prevent scandal. It is suggested that either the prince himself or people acting on his behalf committed the murders to eliminate any potential blackmailers. Sir William Gull, royal physician. Sir William Gull was Queen Victoria's physician, and some conspiracy theories suggest he was involved in the murders to protect the royal family. According to these theories, Gull was part of a Masonic plot to cover up the prince's indiscretions. Masonic symbols. Proponents of this theory point to alleged Masonic symbols found at the crime scenes, claiming that the Ripper's actions followed Masonic rituals. This theory is largely based on speculation and lacks concrete evidence. The Freemason conspiracy. The involvement of the Freemasons, a secretive fraternal organization, has been suggested in various theories. These theories often intersect with those involving the royal family. Masonic rituals. Symbolism. Some theorists claim that the manner in which the victims were mutilated bears similarities to Masonic rituals. They argue that the positioning of the bodies and the removal of organs were symbolic acts intended to convey a message. Cover-up. It is suggested that the Freemasons, with their influential members in high places, orchestrated a cover-up to protect one of their own. This theory posits that police officials who were Masons might have deliberately misled the investigation. Critics' lack of evidence. Critics of the Masonic theory point out the lack of credible evidence linking the Freemasons to the Ripper murders. The supposed Masonic symbols and rituals are often interpreted subjectively, with no definitive proof. Speculative nature. Much of the theory relies on conjecture and the secretive nature of the Freemasons, which makes it difficult to substantiate any claims. The Jill the Ripper theory. Another alternative theory suggests that Jack the Ripper might have been a woman, often referred to as Jill the Ripper. Female suspect Mary Piercy. One prominent female suspect is Mary Piercy, who was convicted of murdering her lover's wife and child in a particularly brutal manner. Some theorists suggest that a woman could have moved through Whitechapel without arousing suspicion, allowing her to commit the murders unnoticed. Midwife theory. Another version of this theory posits that the Ripper was a midwife or nurse who would have had the anatomical knowledge to carry out the mutilations and the ability to move around the area without attracting attention. Evidence and criticism. Anatomical knowledge. The argument for a female Ripper often hinges on the killer's apparent anatomical knowledge. However, this could also be explained by a male suspect with similar expertise. Implausibility. Critics argue that the theory of a female Ripper is less plausible given the physical nature of the attacks and the strength required to overpower the victims. There is also a lack of direct evidence pointing to a female perpetrator. The artist theory. Walter Sickert, a renowned British artist, has been implicated in the Ripper case by various theorists, most notably by crime novelist Patricia Cornwell. Background artistic fascination. Sickert's art often depicted scenes of violence and despair, leading some to speculate that he might have had a personal connection to the murders. Cornwell argues that Sickert's paintings contain hidden clues that link him to the Ripper. Forensic evidence. Cornwell has claimed that DNA evidence from letters purportedly written by the Ripper matches DNA from Sickert's letters. She also points to similarities between the handwriting in these letters and Sickert's own. Counter-arguments. Questionable evidence. Many experts dispute the validity of Cornwell's forensic evidence, arguing that the DNA analysis is inconclusive and that the handwriting analysis is subjective. Speculative links. Critics argue that Cornwell's theory is largely speculative, based on circumstantial evidence and interpretive connections between Sickert's art and the Ripper murders. The doctor theory. The hypothesis that Jack the Ripper was a medical professional has been widely discussed, with several suspects fitting this profile. Dr. Thomas Neil Cream, serial killer. Dr. Thomas Neil Cream was a convicted serial killer who murdered several women using poison. His medical knowledge and criminal history have led some to speculate that he might have been the Ripper. Timing and location. Cream was imprisoned in the United States during the time of the Ripper murders, which complicates the theory. Some suggest he might have traveled to London or that his crimes were mistaken for those of the Ripper. Dr. John Williams. Medical knowledge. Dr. John Williams, a prominent physician, has been suggested as a suspect based on his medical expertise. The theory posits that he killed the women as part of experiments or to cover up medical mishaps. Circumstantial evidence. The evidence against Williams is largely circumstantial, based on his access to medical instruments and his presence in London during the murders. The various conspiracy theories and alternative explanations for the identity of Jack the Ripper reflect the enduring mystery and intrigue surrounding the case. While these theories often lack concrete evidence, they contribute to the rich tapestry of speculation and debate that keeps the Ripper legend alive. Changes in public attitudes towards crime. The Jack the Ripper murders had a significant influence on public attitudes towards crime in Victorian London. The gruesome nature of the killings and the failure to apprehend the perpetrator created a climate of fear and demanded changes in how crime was perceived and addressed. Heightened awareness media influence. The extensive media coverage of the Ripper murders heightened public awareness of violent crime. Newspapers provided detailed accounts of the murders, often sensationalizing the events to attract readers, which amplified public fear. Public meetings and discussions. The murders led to increased public engagement in discussions about crime and safety. Town meetings and public forums were held to address the concerns of residents, particularly in the affected areas of Whitechapel and Spitalfields. Demand for police reform. Criticism of the police. The inability of the police to capture Jack the Ripper led to widespread criticism of their methods and efficiency. This criticism spurred demands for reforms in policing practices and greater accountability. Improved policing strategies. In response to public pressure, the Metropolitan Police adopted new strategies, including increased patrols, the establishment of detective units, and the introduction of better training programs for officers. Policing reforms. The Jack the Ripper case highlighted several deficiencies in the Metropolitan Police, prompting significant reforms aimed at improving crime detection and prevention. Development of modern policing techniques. Specialized detective units. The formation of specialized detective units, such as the Criminal Investigation Department, CID, marked a shift towards more professional and systematic approaches to criminal investigations. Forensic innovations. The need for better investigative tools led to advancements in forensic science, including the adoption of fingerprinting and the development of more sophisticated methods for analyzing crime scenes. Community policing increased visibility. One of the key reforms was the increase in police presence on the streets. The goal was to deter crime through visible patrols and to build trust within the community by fostering closer relationships between officers and residents. Vigilance committees. The formation of vigilance committees by local residents played a crucial role in assisting the police. These committees acted as additional eyes and ears, reporting suspicious activities and helping to organize community defense efforts. Impact on urban living conditions. The Jack the Ripper murders brought attention to the deplorable living conditions in London's East End, prompting calls for social and urban reforms. Slum clearance and housing improvements. Public health concerns. The murders highlighted the link between poor living conditions and crime, prompting public health campaigns aimed at improving sanitation and reducing overcrowding in slum areas. Housing reforms. Efforts to clear slums and build better housing gained momentum. Organizations such as the Peabody Trust and the London County Council undertook projects to construct affordable housing with improved living standards, social welfare initiatives, support for vulnerable populations. The plight of the Ripper's victims, many of whom were destitute women, led to the establishment of social welfare programs aimed at providing support for vulnerable populations, including shelters, soup kitchens, and employment programs. Charitable organizations. The murders spurred the growth of charitable organizations dedicated to alleviating poverty and improving living conditions. These organizations worked to provide education, medical care, and other essential services to the impoverished residents of the East End. Cultural shifts. The Jack the Ripper case had a lasting impact on Victorian culture, influencing literature, theater, and public discourse on crime and morality. Influence on literature and theater crime fiction. The Ripper case inspired a new wave of crime fiction, with authors such as Arthur Conan Doyle and Robert Louis Stevenson incorporating elements of the case into their works. The public's fascination with the case fueled the popularity of detective stories and murder mysteries. Theatrical productions. The murders also influenced the theater, with plays and melodramas dramatizing the events of the Ripper case. These productions often blended fact and fiction, creating sensationalized versions of the murders that captivated audiences. Moral panic and social commentary. Moral panic. The Ripper murders contributed to a moral panic, with public debates focusing on issues of morality, vice, and social decay. The perceived link between crime and moral degeneration prompted calls for stricter social controls and reforms. Social commentary. Writers, social reformers, and politicians used the Ripper case to highlight broader social issues, such as poverty, inequality, and the need for social reform. The case became a symbol of the darker aspects of urban life and the urgent need for societal change. Legacy of the Ripper case. The legacy of the Jack the Ripper case extends beyond its immediate impact on Victorian society, shaping attitudes towards crime and policing for generations to come. Continuing influence on policing foundation for modern policing. The reforms prompted by the Ripper case laid the foundation for modern policing techniques, emphasizing the importance of systematic investigations, community engagement, and forensic science. Historical case studies. The Ripper case remains a key historical case study in criminology and forensic science, providing valuable lessons for law enforcement and criminal justice professionals. Enduring fascination and cultural impact. Cultural icon, Jack the Ripper has become a cultural icon, representing the mysteries and horrors of the Victorian era. The case continues to fascinate and inspire new generations of writers, filmmakers, and researchers. Ongoing research and debate. The mystery surrounding Jack the Ripper continues to fuel research and debate, with new theories and discoveries emerging regularly. The case remains a touchstone for discussions about crime, justice, and the human capacity for violence. The birth of criminal profiling. The Jack the Ripper case played a significant role in the nascent field of criminal psychology and the development of profiling techniques. The complexity and brutality of the murders demanded a deeper understanding of the criminal mind, leading investigators and scholars to explore new methods of identifying and apprehending serial killers. Early attempts at profiling. Dr. Thomas Bond. One of the earliest recorded attempts at criminal profiling was made by Dr. Thomas Bond, a police surgeon who examined the Ripper's victims. In his notes, Bond described the killer as having no medical knowledge but possessing significant strength and an extraordinary degree of cruelty. Bond's observations laid the groundwork for future profiling efforts. Psychological insights. Bond's analysis also touched on the psychological aspects of the killer, suggesting that the Ripper was likely a man with significant mental disturbances, possibly driven by a deep-seated hatred of women. Evolution of profiling techniques. Behavioral analysis. The study of Jack the Ripper's behavior, including his methods of attack, victim selection, and mutilation techniques, provided valuable insights into the mind of a serial killer. This behavioral analysis became a cornerstone of modern criminal profiling. Pattern recognition. Profilers began to recognize patterns in the Ripper's killings, such as the time of the attacks, the locations, and the nature of the mutilations. These patterns helped to create a more detailed profile of the killer and informed future investigations of serial crimes. Influence on understanding serial killers. The Jack the Ripper case significantly influenced the understanding of serial killers, highlighting the need to study their psychological and behavioral characteristics in depth. The concept of serial killing. Defining serial murder. The Ripper case helped to define the concept of serial murder, characterized by a series of killings committed by the same individual over a period of time. This definition provided a framework for studying and identifying other serial killers. Motivations and triggers. Investigators and psychologists began to explore the motivations and triggers behind serial killings, including the role of psychological trauma, childhood abuse, and other factors that might contribute to the development of violent behavior. Profiling notable serial killers. Historical comparisons. The study of Jack the Ripper allowed for comparisons with other historical serial killers, such as H.H. Holmes in the United States and Peter Kürten in Germany. These comparisons helped to identify common traits and behaviors among serial killers. Modern profiling techniques. The techniques developed during the investigation of the Ripper case influenced modern profiling methods used by agencies like the FBI's Behavioral Analysis Unit. Profilers now use a combination of behavioral, psychological, and forensic evidence to build detailed profiles of unknown offenders. Contributions to forensic psychology. The investigation into Jack the Ripper's murders contributed to the field of forensic psychology, emphasizing the importance of understanding the psychological aspects of criminal behavior. Psychological autopsies. Examining the mind of the killer. Forensic psychologists began to conduct psychological autopsies, attempting to reconstruct the mental state of the killer based on the nature of the crimes. This approach provided deeper insights into the motivations and thought processes of serial killers. Case studies. The Ripper case became a seminal case study in forensic psychology, illustrating the complexities of criminal behavior and the challenges of understanding the mind of a serial killer. Development of treatment and intervention strategies. Preventative measures. Insights gained from studying the Ripper case and other serial killings informed the development of treatment and intervention strategies aimed at preventing future crimes. These strategies include early identification and treatment of individuals at risk of developing violent behaviors. Rehabilitation programs. Forensic psychologists also worked on rehabilitation programs for offenders, focusing on addressing underlying psychological issues and reducing the likelihood of recidivism. Impact on law enforcement training. The lessons learned from the Jack the Ripper investigation have been incorporated into law enforcement training programs, emphasizing the importance of psychological profiling and forensic analysis in solving complex cases. Specialized training programs. Behavioral analysis. Training. Law enforcement agencies began to offer specialized training in behavioral analysis and criminal profiling, equipping officers with the skills needed to identify and apprehend serial killers. Interdisciplinary approaches. Training programs also emphasize the importance of interdisciplinary approaches, bringing together experts from psychology, forensic science, and law enforcement to collaborate on complex investigations. Use of technology in profiling. Data analysis. Tools. Advances in technology have enhanced profiling techniques, allowing investigators to use data analysis tools to identify patterns and predict future behaviors. These tools have become essential in modern criminal investigations. Geographic profiling. Geographic profiling techniques, which analyze the locations of crimes to identify potential suspects, have their roots in the spatial analysis used in the Ripper investigation. These techniques are now widely used in law enforcement. Influence on media and public perception. The Jack the Ripper case has had a lasting influence on media portrayals of serial killers and public perceptions of criminal profiling. Media representation. True crime genre. The fascination with the Ripper case helped to popularize the true crime genre, leading to numerous books, documentaries, and television series that explore the psychology of serial killers. Dramatizations. Fictional dramatizations of the Ripper case and other serial killer stories often incorporate elements of criminal profiling, reflecting the techniques and insights developed from the original investigation. public awareness and education. Raising awareness. The Ripper case has raised public awareness about the complexities of criminal behavior and the importance of profiling in solving serial crimes. Educational programs and media coverage have helped to inform the public about the work of forensic psychologists and profilers. Cultural impact. The cultural impact of the Ripper case continues to shape public perceptions of serial killers, contributing to an ongoing fascination with the dark aspects of human psychology. Early forensic challenges. The Jack the Ripper case highlighted numerous forensic challenges that investigators faced in the late 19th century. The limitations of the time underscored the need for advancements in forensic methodologies and technologies. Lack of systematic procedures. Crime scene contamination. During the Ripper investigations, crime scene contamination was a significant issue. Curious onlookers and untrained officers often disturbed the scenes, making it difficult to gather reliable evidence. Absence of standardized techniques. There was no standardized protocol for collecting and preserving evidence. This lack of consistency hampered the ability to analyze and compare findings effectively. Inadequate medical examinations. Post-mortem limitations. The medical examinations of the Ripper's victims were often conducted under less than ideal conditions, with limited tools and techniques available to the examiners. Anatomical knowledge. Although some examiners had anatomical knowledge, the forensic pathology field was still in its infancy, limiting the depth and accuracy of post-mortem findings. Advancements in forensic technologies. The shortcomings exposed by the Jack the Ripper case spurred significant advancements in forensic science. Over the years, these developments have transformed the field, enabling more accurate and efficient crime-solving techniques. Fingerprinting introduction and adoption. Fingerprinting was introduced in the early 20th century as a reliable method of identifying individuals. This technique became a cornerstone of forensic science, allowing for the unique identification of suspects. Fingerprint databases. The creation of fingerprint databases facilitated the systematic cataloging and comparison of prints, enhancing the ability of law enforcement agencies to solve crimes. DNA profiling. Genetic fingerprinting. The discovery of DNA profiling revolutionized forensic science. This technology enables the identification of individuals based on their genetic material, providing a powerful tool for linking suspects to crime scenes. Cold case applications. DNA profiling has been instrumental in solving cold cases. By re-examining old evidence with modern DNA analysis techniques, investigators have been able to identify perpetrators of crimes that had remained unsolved for decades. Forensic pathology autopsy techniques. The development of advanced autopsy techniques has greatly improved the ability to determine the cause and manner of death. These techniques include detailed tissue analysis, toxicology testing, and advanced imaging methods. Standardized procedures. The establishment of standardized procedures for conducting autopsies ensures consistency and accuracy in forensic pathology, aiding in the collection of reliable evidence. Crime scene investigation. The importance of preserving crime scenes and collecting evidence systematically became evident during the Ripper investigations. Modern forensic science has developed comprehensive protocols to address these issues. Crime scene management, securing the scene. Modern protocols emphasize the importance of securing crime scenes to prevent contamination and preserve evidence. This includes restricting access to authorized personnel and documenting the scene thoroughly. Evidence collection. Specialized teams are trained to collect evidence using standardized methods. This ensures that all potential evidence is gathered, preserved, and documented correctly, facilitating accurate analysis. Technological innovations. Imaging and mapping. Advances in imaging and mapping technologies, such as 3D laser scanning and photogrammetry, allow for detailed documentation of crime scenes. These tools provide accurate representations of the scene, aiding in analysis and reconstruction. Digital forensics. The rise of digital technology has introduced new areas of forensic investigation. Digital forensics involves the recovery and analysis of data from electronic devices, providing crucial evidence in many modern criminal cases. Interdisciplinary collaboration. The complexity of the Jack the Ripper case underscored the need for interdisciplinary collaboration in forensic investigations. Modern forensic science often involves the cooperation of experts from various fields to solve complex cases. Collaborative efforts. Multidisciplinary teams. Forensic investigations now commonly involve multidisciplinary teams, including forensic pathologists, DNA analysts, digital forensics experts, and behavioral analysts. This collaborative approach enhances the ability to solve complex cases. Training and education. Interdisciplinary training and education programs ensure that forensic professionals are well versed in various aspects of forensic science. These programs promote a comprehensive understanding of different techniques and their applications. Forensic psychology and profiling behavioral analysis. Units. Behavioral analysis units, such as the FBI's Behavioral Analysis Unit, play a critical role in understanding the psychological aspects of criminal behavior. These units apply psychological profiling techniques to assist in identifying and apprehending serial offenders. Profiling techniques. The development of advanced profiling techniques informed by the study of historical cases like Jack the Ripper has improved the ability to predict and identify criminal behavior. These techniques integrate psychological, behavioral, and forensic evidence to create detailed profiles of unknown offenders. Influence on legal and judicial processes. The advancements in forensic science influenced by the Jack the Ripper case have also impacted legal and judicial processes, ensuring that evidence is handled and presented with greater accuracy and reliability. Chain of custody evidence. Handling. Modern forensic protocols emphasize the importance of maintaining a clear chain of custody for all evidence. This ensures that evidence is tracked and documented at every stage, from collection to presentation in court. Legal standards. The establishment of legal standards for the admissibility of forensic evidence ensures that only reliable and scientifically validated evidence is presented in court. This enhances the integrity of the judicial process. Expert testimony. Forensic experts. The role of forensic experts in legal proceedings has become increasingly important. These experts provide testimony on the methods and findings of forensic analyses, helping to explain complex scientific concepts to judges and juries. Standards of expertise. The establishment of standards for forensic expertise ensures that only qualified professionals provide testimony in court. This includes certification and accreditation processes that validate the credentials and competencies of forensic experts. Continuing impact and future directions. The Jack the Ripper case continues to influence the field of forensic science, driving ongoing research and innovation aimed at improving the accuracy and effectiveness of forensic investigations. Ongoing research. Forensic technologies. Research into new forensic technologies such as advanced DNA sequencing and digital forensics tools aims to enhance the ability to solve crimes and identify perpetrators with greater precision. Behavioral studies. Ongoing studies in forensic psychology and behavioral analysis seek to deepen the understanding of criminal behavior, contributing to more effective profiling techniques and intervention strategies. Future innovations. Integration of AI and machine learning. The integration of artificial intelligence and machine learning into forensic science holds great promise for the future. These technologies can analyze vast amounts of data quickly and accurately, identifying patterns and connections that might be overlooked by human investigators. Global collaboration. Increased global collaboration among forensic scientists, law enforcement agencies, and academic institutions will continue to drive advancements in forensic science. Shared knowledge and resources will enhance the ability to address complex and transnational crimes. Fear and anonymity in urban areas. The Jack the Ripper case highlighted the sense of fear and anonymity that can pervade urban areas, particularly those with dense populations and high levels of poverty. Impact on urban communities. Heightened fear. The brutal murders and the inability of the police to capture the perpetrator created a pervasive sense of fear among the residents of Whitechapel. This fear was not limited to the immediate area, but spread throughout London and beyond. Community vigilance. In response to the murders, local communities became more vigilant. Neighbors kept a closer eye on each other, and informal watch groups were established to patrol the streets and look out for suspicious activities. Anonymity and isolation. Urban anonymity. The dense population and transient nature of urban areas like Whitechapel contributed to a sense of anonymity. Residents often did not know their neighbors well, which allowed the Ripper to move through the area without arousing suspicion. Isolation. Despite the crowded conditions, many residents felt isolated due to the harsh realities of urban poverty and social stratification. This isolation made it difficult for individuals to seek help or protection. Changes in urban design and infrastructure. The fear and insecurity generated by the Jack the Ripper case led to changes in urban design and infrastructure aimed at improving safety and public confidence. Improved street lighting initiatives. One of the immediate responses to the Ripper murders was the implementation of improved street lighting in Whitechapel and other parts of London. Better lighting was seen as a deterrent to criminal activities and helped residents feel safer walking the streets at night. Municipal investment. Municipal authorities invested in infrastructure upgrades, including the installation of gas lamps and later electric lights. These improvements were part of broader efforts to modernize the city and enhance public safety. Urban planning and housing slum clearance. The murders brought attention to the deplorable living conditions in areas like Whitechapel. Slum clearance initiatives aim to replace overcrowded and unsanitary housing with safer, more modern accommodations. Public housing projects. Public housing projects were developed to provide affordable, decent living conditions for the poor. Organizations like the Peabody Trust built housing estates with better facilities and sanitation, contributing to improved public health and safety. Influence on public health and social services. The Jack the Ripper case underscored the need for better public health measures and social services to address the underlying issues of poverty and neglect that contributed to crime. Public health reform. Sanitation improvements. The connection between poor sanitation and crime highlighted by the Ripper case led to significant public health reforms. Efforts were made to improve waste disposal, water supply, and overall hygiene in urban areas. Health campaigns. Public health campaigns were launched to educate residents about hygiene practices and to provide vaccinations and medical care to prevent the spread of diseases that were rampant in impoverished neighborhoods. Social services expansion. Support for vulnerable populations. The murders drew attention to the vulnerability of women working in prostitution and other marginalized groups. Social services expanded to provide support, including shelters, employment programs, and healthcare services. Charitable organizations. Charitable organizations played a crucial role in addressing the needs of the poor. These organizations provided food, clothing, and medical care, and worked to improve the living conditions of the most vulnerable residents. Policing and community relations. The Ripper case highlighted the need for improved relations between the police and urban communities to enhance public trust and cooperation. Community policing increased patrols. In the wake of the murders, the Metropolitan Police increased their presence in Whitechapel and other high-crime areas. The goal was to deter criminal activities and reassure residents of their safety. Engagement with residents. Police officers were encouraged to engage more with residents, building relationships and trust. This approach aimed to create a sense of shared responsibility for community safety and to encourage the reporting of suspicious activities. Vigilance committees. Formation of committees. Vigilance committees, formed by local residents, worked alongside the police to monitor the streets and report any suspicious behavior. These committees played a vital role in community safety during times of heightened fear. Community empowerment. The establishment of vigilance committees empowered residents to take an active role in their own safety. This collective effort helped to foster a sense of community solidarity and resilience. Cultural and social reflections. The Jack the Ripper case prompted cultural and social reflections on the conditions of urban life, influencing literature, art, and public discourse. Literary depictions. Literature and journalism. The Ripper murders inspired a wealth of literary and journalistic works that explored the dark side of urban life. Authors and journalists used the case to critique the social and economic conditions that contributed to crime. Social commentary. Writers like George Bernard Shaw and Arthur Morrison used their works to highlight the plight of the urban poor and to call for social reforms. These literary efforts contributed to broader public awareness and advocacy for change. Artistic representations. Visual art. The Ripper case influenced visual artists who depicted the fear and horror of the murders in their works. These representations often served as social critiques, highlighting the squalid conditions of urban life. Theatrical productions. The murders also inspired theatrical productions that dramatized the events and their impact on society. These productions often blended fact and fiction, using the Ripper case to explore broader themes of morality and justice. Long-term social impact. The Jack the Ripper case had a lasting impact on how urban safety and public welfare were perceived and addressed, leading to long-term changes in policies and attitudes. Policy reforms. Urban safety initiatives. The case spurred ongoing efforts to improve urban safety through better policing, infrastructure upgrades, and community engagement. These initiatives aim to create safer, more livable cities. Social welfare policies. The attention brought to the conditions of the urban poor led to the development of social welfare policies aimed at reducing poverty and providing support for vulnerable populations. Public awareness and advocacy. Continued advocacy. Advocacy for urban safety and social justice continued long after the Ripper murders. Activists and reformers used the case as a rallying point to push for continued improvements in housing, healthcare, and social services. Educational efforts. Educational programs and public awareness campaigns sought to inform citizens about the importance of urban safety and the need for ongoing vigilance and community cooperation. Birth of the true crime genre. The Jack the Ripper case is often cited as a foundational event in the creation of the true crime genre. The combination of gruesome murders, a mysterious perpetrator, and extensive media coverage set the stage for the public's enduring fascination with real-life crime stories. Early true crime publications. Sensationalist newspapers. During the Ripper's reign of terror, newspapers like the Illustrated Police News and The Times provided detailed and often sensational accounts of the murders. These stories captivated the public and laid the groundwork for true crime journalism. Penny Dreadfuls. Cheap sensationalist publications known as penny dreadfuls serialized the Ripper's crimes, blending fact and fiction to create compelling narratives that appealed to a wide audience. Evolution of the genre. Books and essays. The case inspired numerous books and essays that analyzed the murders, the investigation, and the social context. Works like Leonard Matter's The Mystery of Jack the Ripper and Philip Sugden's The Complete History of Jack the Ripper are notable examples that contributed to the genre. Documentaries and TV series. The true crime genre expanded into film and television, with documentaries and series exploring the Ripper case in depth. Programs such as Jack the Ripper: The Definitive Story and Unmasking Jack the Ripper delve into the historical and forensic aspects of the case. Influence on crime fiction. The Ripper murders had a significant impact on the development of crime fiction, inspiring a multitude of novels, short stories, and films that explore themes of mystery, horror, and criminal investigation. Literary impact. Detective fiction. The Ripper case influenced the works of authors like Arthur Conan Doyle, whose Sherlock Holmes stories often feature intricate investigations and mysterious villains. The concept of the detective hero solving complex crimes became a staple of the genre. Gothic and horror elements. The macabre nature of the Ripper's crimes lent itself to the Gothic and horror genres. Writers such as Robert Louis Stevenson incorporated similar themes of urban terror and the duality of human nature into their works. Cinematic representations. Early films. The silent film The Lodger, A Story of the London Fog, 1927, directed by Alfred Hitchcock, was one of the first cinematic adaptations inspired by the Ripper case. It set a precedent for using suspense and psychological horror to depict crime stories. Modern adaptations. The Ripper case has been adapted into numerous films such as From Hell, 2001, starring Johnny Depp, which explores the conspiracy theories surrounding the murders. These adaptations often blend historical facts with fictional elements to create compelling narratives. Cultural iconography. Jack the Ripper has become a cultural icon, symbolizing the darker aspects of human nature and the mysteries of unsolved crimes. This iconography is evident in various forms of media and popular culture. Visual arts, illustrations, and paintings. Artists have been fascinated by the Ripper case, creating illustrations and paintings that depict the murders and the atmosphere of Victorian London. These works often emphasize the horror and mystery associated with the case. Comics and graphic novels. The graphic novel From Hell by Alan Moore and Eddie Campbell is a notable example that explores the Ripper case through a mix of historical research and imaginative storytelling. The visual medium allows for a visceral portrayal of the murders and their impact. Theater and performance stage adaptations. The Ripper case has inspired numerous stage adaptations, from serious dramas to musical comedies. Productions like Jack the Ripper the Musical blend historical facts with artistic interpretation to explore the case in a theatrical setting. Interactive experiences. The enduring fascination with the Ripper has led to the creation of interactive experiences, such as escape rooms and immersive theater productions, where participants can engage with the mystery in a hands-on way. Influence on public perception of crime. The Jack the Ripper case has shaped how the public perceives crime, particularly serial murders, and the media's role in reporting and interpreting such events. Media sensationalism crime reporting. The Ripper case set a precedent for sensational crime reporting, with newspapers competing to provide the most graphic and detailed accounts. This has influenced modern media practices, where crime stories are often sensationalized to attract readership and viewership. Public fascination. The detailed coverage of the Ripper murders sparked a public fascination with crime that persists today. True crime documentaries, podcasts, and books continue to draw large audiences, reflecting a deep-seated interest in understanding criminal behavior and justice. Impact on criminal justice awareness and advocacy. The public's fascination with the Ripper case has led to greater awareness of issues related to crime and justice. Advocacy groups have used high-profile cases to push for legal reforms and better support for victims. Educational programs. The case is frequently used in educational programs to teach students about criminal investigation, forensic science, and the history of policing. This helps to inform and inspire future generations of law enforcement professionals and criminologists. Tourism and commercialization. The enduring interest in Jack the Ripper has led to the commercialization of the case, with various tourism and entertainment ventures capitalizing on the public's fascination. Ripper tours. Walking tours, guided walking tours of the Ripper's haunts in Whitechapel, have become a popular tourist attraction in London. These tours blend historical facts with dramatic storytelling to engage visitors. Virtual tours. With the advent of digital technology, virtual tours of the Ripper's London have also become available, allowing people from around the world to explore the case from the comfort of their homes. Museums and exhibits. Ripper museums. Dedicated museums and exhibits provide visitors with a comprehensive look at the Ripper case, showcasing artifacts, documents, and reconstructions of crime scenes. These institutions aim to educate as well as entertain. Special exhibits. Temporary exhibits at larger museums, such as the Museum of London, offer in-depth explorations of the case, often featuring interactive displays and multimedia presentations to enhance the visitor experience. Legacy and future directions. The legacy of Jack the Ripper continues to evolve, influencing new generations of storytellers, researchers, and the public's understanding of crime and justice. Ongoing research and theories. New theories. The mystery of Jack the Ripper remains unsolved, and new theories and research continue to emerge. Advances in forensic science and historical research may one day provide new insights into the case. Interdisciplinary studies. The case attracts interest from various academic disciplines, including criminology, psychology, history, and literature. Interdisciplinary studies provide a holistic understanding of the Ripper's impact on society, influence on future media crime and mystery genres. The Ripper case will likely continue to inspire writers, filmmakers, and artists, influencing the crime and mystery genres. Future adaptations may explore new angles and incorporate modern investigative techniques. Interactive media. The rise of interactive media, such as video games and virtual reality, offers new ways to engage with the Ripper story. These platforms allow users to immerse themselves in the historical context and explore the case in innovative ways. Understanding human behavior. The Jack the Ripper case has profoundly influenced the study of human behavior, particularly in understanding the motivations and psychological profiles of violent criminals. Criminal psychology profiling serial killers. The case was instrumental in developing the field of criminal psychology, particularly the profiling of serial killers. Researchers began to identify common traits and behaviors, such as a history of violence, childhood trauma, and patterns of escalation in criminal activity. Motivations and pathology. The Ripper's crimes have been analyzed to understand the underlying motivations and psychological pathology. Studies suggest that the killer may have harbored deep-seated rage, possibly stemming from personal grievances or mental illness. Behavioral analysis. Modus operandi. The detailed examination of the Ripper's modus operandi provided insights into his behavioral patterns. This included the choice of victims, the timing and location of the attacks, and the specific nature of the mutilations. Signature behavior. The concept of a criminal's signature behavior, actions taken beyond what is necessary to commit the crime, was explored through the Ripper's gruesome mutilations. This helped distinguish his killings from other contemporary crimes. Sociological perspectives. The Jack the Ripper case also shed light on broader sociological issues, including the impact of crime on society, social stratification, and the responses to violence in urban environments. Impact on society. Public fear and panic. The Ripper murders created widespread fear and panic, influencing public behavior and perceptions of safety. The case highlighted the vulnerability of urban populations and the impact of sensationalist media on public sentiment. Social stigma. The victims of the Ripper were often marginalized women, many of whom were involved in prostitution. The case drew attention to the social stigma and hardships faced by these women, prompting discussions about their treatment and protection. Social stratification, class divisions. The murders underscored the stark class divisions in Victorian London. The East End, where the murders occurred, was a densely populated area with high levels of poverty and crime, contrasting sharply with the affluent West End. Immigration and xenophobia. The influx of immigrants into East London, particularly from Eastern Europe, led to heightened xenophobia and anti-immigrant sentiment. The Ripper case exacerbated these tensions, with some theories suggesting the killer was a foreigner. Responses to violence. The Ripper case prompted a range of responses from law enforcement, the media, and the general public, shaping how societies respond to violence and crime. Law enforcement policing reforms. The failures and challenges faced by the police in the Ripper investigation led to significant reforms in policing practices, including the development of better investigative techniques and the establishment of specialized detective units. Community engagement. The need for better community engagement and cooperation between the police and the public became evident. This led to efforts to build trust and encourage residents to assist in crime prevention and reporting. Media influence. Sensationalism and responsibility. The role of the media in shaping public perceptions of crime was highlighted by the Ripper case. The sensationalist reporting underscored the need for responsible journalism that balances public interest with ethical considerations. Impact on public opinion. The media's portrayal of the Ripper case influenced public opinion and policy responses. The intense coverage brought attention to issues of urban poverty, social inequality, and the need for systemic reforms. Public health and safety. Urban safety measures. The fear generated by the Ripper murders led to the implementation of various urban safety measures, such as improved street lighting and increased police patrols. These measures aim to reduce the risk of similar crimes occurring in the future. Support services. The case highlighted the need for better support services for vulnerable populations, including shelters, healthcare, and employment programs. These services aim to address the root causes of crime and provide assistance to those at risk. Psychological impact on society. The psychological impact of the Ripper murders extended beyond immediate fear, influencing societal attitudes towards violence, justice, and human behavior. Fear of the unknown. Anxiety and uncertainty. The inability to identify and capture the Ripper created a sense of anxiety and uncertainty. This fear of the unknown perpetrator contributed to a heightened sense of vulnerability and mistrust within the community. Enduring mystique. The mystery surrounding the Ripper's identity has contributed to his enduring mystique, perpetuating a cultural fascination with unsolved crimes and the psychology of killers. Collective trauma. Community trauma. The Ripper murders inflicted collective trauma on the communities of East London. The brutal nature of the crimes and the media's portrayal of the events left lasting psychological scars on residents. Coping mechanisms. Communities developed various coping mechanisms in response to the trauma, including increased social solidarity, the formation of vigilance committees, and public advocacy for safety and justice. Influence on modern understanding of violence. The Jack the Ripper case has influenced modern understanding of violence, contributing to the development of theories and practices in criminology, psychology, and sociology. Theories of violence. Psychological theories. The case has informed psychological theories of violence, emphasizing the role of mental illness, trauma, and personality disorders in the development of violent behavior. Sociological theories. Sociological theories of violence have also been influenced by the Ripper case, highlighting the impact of social conditions, economic deprivation, and social isolation on criminal behavior. Preventative approaches. Early intervention. The insights gained from studying the Ripper case have underscored the importance of early intervention and prevention strategies. These approaches aim to identify and address risk factors for violence before they escalate. Integrated approaches. Modern approaches to preventing and responding to violence emphasize the need for integrated efforts involving law enforcement, social services, healthcare providers, and community organizations. Educational impact. The case of Jack the Ripper continues to serve as an important educational tool for understanding criminal behavior, forensic science, and societal responses to crime. Academic studies, criminology, and psychology courses. The Ripper case is frequently included in criminology and psychology curricula, providing students with a historical case study that illustrates key concepts and theories. Interdisciplinary research. The case is also the subject of interdisciplinary research, bringing together scholars from various fields to explore its many dimensions and implications. Public education documentaries and books. Documentaries, books, and other media about the Ripper case continue to educate the public about the complexities of criminal investigations and the social factors that contribute to crime. Museums and exhibits. Museums and special exhibits dedicated to the Ripper case offer educational experiences that combine historical artifacts, interactive displays, and expert commentary to provide a comprehensive understanding of the case. Continuing influence on society. The Jack the Ripper case remains a significant cultural and historical touchstone, influencing various aspects of contemporary society and ongoing discussions about crime and justice. Educational and academic importance. Historical studies. The case is a staple in historical studies, providing insights into Victorian London, the social conditions of the time, and the evolution of criminal investigation techniques. Scholars continue to explore the case from multiple perspectives, adding to our understanding of the period. Criminal justice education. The Ripper case is frequently used in criminal justice education to teach about the history of policing, forensic science, and criminal profiling. It serves as a real-world example of the challenges and advancements in crime-solving methodologies. Cultural fascination, literature, and media. The fascination with Jack the Ripper has spawned a vast array of literature, films, and television series. These works often explore the mystery and horror of the case, blending historical facts with fictional elements to create compelling narratives. Public engagement. The case continues to engage the public through documentaries, books, and interactive experiences. Museums and historical tours attract visitors eager to learn more about the infamous murders and their impact on society. Impact on modern crime investigation. The Jack the Ripper case has had a lasting impact on the field of crime investigation, influencing modern practices and technologies. Advancements in forensic science. DNA analysis. Modern forensic science has benefited from advancements in DNA analysis, allowing investigators to revisit old cases with new techniques. The Ripper case remains a point of interest for those hoping to apply these methods to historical evidence. Fingerprinting and databases. The development of fingerprinting and the creation of centralized databases have revolutionized crime solving, providing reliable methods for identifying suspects and linking them to crime scenes. Behavioral profiling, criminal profiling techniques. The analysis of the Ripper's crimes contributed to the development of criminal profiling techniques. Modern profilers use these methods to understand the behavior and motivations of serial killers, aiding in their capture. Interdisciplinary collaboration. The Ripper case highlighted the importance of interdisciplinary collaboration in solving complex crimes. Forensic scientists, psychologists, and law enforcement officers work together to build comprehensive profiles of offenders. Public policy and urban development. The social impact of the Ripper murders influenced public policy and urban development initiatives aimed at improving safety and living conditions. Urban renewal projects, housing improvements. The attention brought to the squalid conditions of Whitechapel led to efforts to improve housing and sanitation in urban areas. These initiatives aim to provide safer and healthier living environments for residents. Public health measures. Public health campaigns and improvements in infrastructure, such as better waste management and clean water supply, were implemented to address the underlying conditions that contributed to crime. Policing and community relations. Community policing. The Ripper case underscored the need for strong community police relations. Community policing strategies were developed to build trust, encourage cooperation, and enhance public safety. Preventative measures. Law enforcement agencies adopted preventative measures, such as increased patrols and the use of surveillance technologies, to deter crime and protect vulnerable populations. Ethical and moral considerations. The ethical and moral considerations raised by the Ripper case continue to influence discussions about justice, media responsibility, and societal values. Media ethics. Responsible reporting. The sensationalist coverage of the Ripper murders highlighted the need for responsible reporting practices. Media organizations are encouraged to balance public interest with ethical considerations, avoiding unnecessary fear-mongering and respect for victims' dignity. Impact on victims' families. Discussions about the impact of crime reporting on victims' families have led to more sensitive approaches in journalism, ensuring that their stories are told with compassion and respect. Societal reflections, moral panic, and social justice. The case prompted reflections on moral panic and social justice, emphasizing the need to address the root causes of crime, such as poverty, inequality, and lack of social support. Victim advocacy. The plight of the Ripper's victims has inspired advocacy for the rights and protection of vulnerable populations, leading to the development of support services and legal protections. Technological innovations. The legacy of Jack the Ripper continues to inspire technological innovations in crime solving and forensic science. Digital forensics data analysis. Tools. Advances in digital forensics allow investigators to analyze large data sets, identify patterns, and solve complex crimes. These tools have become essential in modern investigations. Cybercrime investigations. The principles of forensic science and criminal profiling developed during the Ripper case are applied to cybercrime investigations, addressing the challenges posed by digital evidence and online criminal activities. Artificial intelligence and machine learning. Predictive policing. Artificial intelligence and machine learning technologies are used to predict and prevent crime by analyzing data and identifying potential threats. These innovations aim to enhance public safety and improve crime response strategies. Automated forensic analysis. AI-driven tools are employed to automate forensic analysis, increasing efficiency and accuracy in processing evidence and solving cases. The ongoing quest for understanding. The Jack the Ripper case remains an enduring mystery that continues to inspire research, debate, and the quest for understanding. Historical research. Archival studies. Historians and researchers continue to examine archival records, hoping to uncover new evidence or reinterpret existing data. These studies aim to provide a clearer picture of the events and individuals involved in the case. Comparative analysis. Comparative studies with other historical and modern cases help to identify patterns and draw insights into the nature of serial killings and investigative techniques. Public engagement and educational programs. Educational programs and public lectures on the Ripper case foster a deeper understanding of its historical and cultural significance. These initiatives aim to engage and inform the public about the complexities of criminal investigations. Interactive learning. Interactive exhibits and digital platforms provide immersive learning experiences, allowing individuals to explore the case and its impact on society in innovative ways. Modern forensic techniques. The advent of advanced forensic techniques has opened new possibilities for solving the Jack the Ripper case, offering methods to re-examine old evidence with greater precision. DNA analysis. Re-examination of evidence. Modern DNA analysis techniques have been applied to artifacts linked to the Ripper case. Items such as the shawl purportedly found near Catherine Eddowes have undergone DNA testing, yielding results that have reignited debates about the identity of the killer. Genetic profiling. Genetic profiling has provided potential links to suspects like Aaron Kosminski. Although the findings are contentious, they demonstrate the potential of DNA technology to shed new light on historical cases. Advanced imaging 3D crime scene reconstruction. Advanced imaging techniques, including 3D laser scanning, allow for detailed reconstructions of crime scenes. These reconstructions help investigators understand the spatial relationships and actions that took place during the murders. Forensic pathology imaging. Non-invasive imaging technologies such as MRI and CT scans can be used to re-examine old forensic evidence, providing new insights into the injuries and methods used by the Ripper. New theories and re-evaluations. As new evidence emerges and existing data is re-evaluated, several new theories about the identity and motives of Jack the Ripper have been proposed. Revisiting old suspects Aaron Kosminski. The renewed interest in Kosminski as a suspect has been fueled by modern DNA findings. The case against him is built on circumstantial evidence and historical police reports, making him a central figure in contemporary discussions. Montague John Druitt. Scholars continue to examine Druitt's background and the circumstances of his death, considering whether his suicide shortly after the final Ripper murder was a coincidence or indicative of his guilt. Alternative suspects. Charles Cross. Some researchers have suggested Charles Cross, the man who discovered the body of Polly Nichols, as a potential suspect. Cross's presence at multiple crime scenes and his inconsistent statements have raised suspicions. Thomas Cutbush. Thomas Cutbush, a mentally ill man who was institutionalized shortly after the Ripper murders, has also been re-evaluated as a potential suspect. His violent tendencies and proximity to the crime scenes make him a plausible candidate. Motivational theories. Personal grievance. Some theories suggest that the Ripper's motive was driven by personal grievances, possibly linked to his relationship with women or specific individuals within the Whitechapel community. Psychological disorders. The role of psychological disorders, such as paranoid schizophrenia or severe psychopathy, has been explored as a driving factor behind the Ripper's brutal actions. These theories attempt to explain the killer's apparent lack of remorse and methodical approach to the murders. Technological innovations and their impact. The integration of new technologies into the investigation of the Jack the Ripper case continues to provide fresh perspectives and potential breakthroughs. Artificial intelligence pattern recognition. AI algorithms are used to analyze historical data, identify patterns, and generate new leads. These technologies can sift through vast amounts of information more efficiently than human researchers. Predictive modeling. Machine learning models are employed to predict possible behaviors and movements of the Ripper based on known data. These models help to narrow down potential suspects and locations. Digital archival research online databases. The digitization of historical records and police files has made it easier for researchers to access and analyze primary sources. Online databases provide comprehensive repositories of evidence, witness statements, and investigative reports. Crowdsourced investigations. The Internet has enabled collaborative investigations, where amateur sleuths and professional researchers share findings and theories. Platforms dedicated to the Ripper case facilitate the exchange of information and collaborative analysis. Ethical considerations and controversies. The ongoing investigation into the Jack the Ripper case raises ethical considerations and controversies, particularly concerning the handling of evidence and the portrayal of historical figures. Handling of evidence preservation versus testing. Balancing the preservation of historical artifacts with the need for scientific testing is a critical issue. Some argue that invasive testing can damage or destroy valuable evidence, while others believe it is necessary for solving the case. Chain of custody. Ensuring the integrity of evidence through a documented chain of custody is essential. Historical artifacts often lack clear provenance, complicating efforts to authenticate and test them. Media representation sensationalism. The media's portrayal of the Ripper case can sometimes border on sensationalism, prioritizing entertainment over accuracy. This can lead to the spread of misinformation and undue speculation. Victim representation. Ensuring that the victims are portrayed with dignity and respect is crucial. Media representations often focus on the killer, sometimes neglecting the humanity and stories of the victims. The quest for closure. The enduring mystery of Jack the Ripper continues to captivate researchers and the public, driving the quest for closure and understanding. Ongoing investigations. Private research. Independent researchers and historians persist in their efforts to uncover new evidence and develop theories. Their work contributes to the collective understanding of the case and keeps the investigation active. Institutional efforts. Museums, universities, and law enforcement agencies occasionally revisit the case, applying new technologies and methodologies in hopes of solving the mystery. Public engagement, educational initiatives, public lectures, documentaries, and exhibitions about the Ripper case help to educate and engage the public, fostering a deeper understanding of the historical context and investigative challenges. Interactive experiences. Interactive experiences, such as virtual reality tours and immersive theater productions, allow the public to explore the case in novel and engaging ways, keeping the story alive for new generations. Social conditions. The social conditions of Victorian London played a crucial role in shaping the environment in which the Jack the Ripper murders occurred. The stark contrast between wealth and poverty created a landscape ripe for crime and social unrest. Class divisions, wealth disparity. The late 19th century saw significant economic growth in Britain, yet this prosperity was unevenly distributed. The wealthy lived in opulence, while the working class and poor struggled in overcrowded, unsanitary conditions. Living conditions. In the East End, where the Ripper's murders took place, living conditions were particularly harsh. Many families lived in single-room accommodations in dilapidated buildings, with inadequate access to clean water and sanitation. Employment and labor industrialization. The rapid industrialization of London brought about significant changes in employment. Many people migrated to the city seeking work, leading to overcrowded neighborhoods and increased competition for jobs. Prostitution. Economic hardship forced many women into prostitution. The lack of social support and employment opportunities made it one of the few means of survival for many women in Whitechapel and similar areas. Economic factors. Economic conditions in Victorian London were marked by volatility, with periods of boom and bust affecting the livelihoods of its residents. Economic inequality, rich versus poor. The economic inequality of the time meant that the rich had access to all the amenities and luxuries of modern life, while the poor faced daily struggles just to survive. This inequality contributed to social tensions and crime. Charitable efforts. Various charitable organizations sought to alleviate the plight of the poor. Efforts by philanthropists to improve housing and provide social services were crucial, but often insufficient to meet the overwhelming needs. Urbanization. Rapid urban growth. The population of London grew rapidly during the Victorian era, leading to urban sprawl and the development of slums. The city struggled to keep up with the infrastructure needs of its expanding population. Impact on crime. The dense urban environment and economic deprivation in areas like Whitechapel created conditions conducive to crime, with the anonymity of the city providing cover for criminal activities. Political context. The political landscape of Victorian London influenced public responses to crime and social issues, shaping the policies and attitudes of the time. Law and order policing reforms. The failures of the police in capturing Jack the Ripper highlighted the need for reforms. The Metropolitan Police Force, established in 1829, was still evolving and faced significant challenges in dealing with crime in densely populated areas. Legal system. The legal system of the time was often seen as favoring the wealthy, with harsh punishments for the poor. This disparity contributed to a sense of injustice and mistrust of authorities among the working-class population. Social reforms. Public health acts. In response to the appalling living conditions and public health crises, the government enacted several public health acts aimed at improving sanitation, housing, and public health. These reforms were driven by the recognition that poor living conditions contributed to crime and disease. Labor laws. Efforts to improve labor conditions, such as the Factory Acts, sought to regulate working hours and conditions. These laws were part of broader social reforms aimed at addressing the root causes of poverty and crime. Public reaction and media influence. The public reaction to the Jack the Ripper murders was shaped by the media and the social conditions of the time, creating a lasting impact on society. Media sensationalism. Press coverage. Newspapers played a significant role in shaping public perception of the Ripper case. Sensationalist reporting fueled fear and speculation, keeping the public engaged and often exacerbating the sense of panic. Public engagement. The intense media coverage prompted widespread public engagement, with people from all walks of life following the case closely. The Ripper letters, whether genuine or hoaxes, added to the media frenzy and public intrigue. Social movements. Advocacy for the poor. The plight of the Ripper's victims highlighted the broader social issues facing the urban poor. Advocacy groups and social reformers used the case to push for improvements in housing, healthcare, and social services. Women's rights. The murders also sparked discussions about the treatment and safety of women, contributing to the early women's rights movement. Activists called for better protection and support for vulnerable women, leading to incremental social changes. The legacy of Jack the Ripper. The legacy of Jack the Ripper extends beyond the historical events, influencing modern understandings of crime, media, and urban society. Historical significance. Unsolved mystery. The enduring mystery of Jack the Ripper continues to captivate researchers and the public. The case remains one of the most famous unsolved crimes in history, prompting ongoing investigation and speculation. Cultural impact. The Ripper case has left a lasting mark on popular culture, inspiring countless books, films, and academic studies. It serves as a case study in criminal investigation, media influence, and the social conditions of Victorian London. Lessons learned. Advancements in policing. The case highlighted the need for advancements in policing and forensic science, leading to significant improvements in these fields over time. The lessons learned from the Ripper investigation have informed modern practices and technologies. Social awareness. The Jack the Ripper case brought attention to the social issues of the time, contributing to a greater awareness of the conditions faced by the urban poor. It underscored the importance of addressing social inequalities to prevent crime and improve public health. In conclusion, the Jack the Ripper case is a multifaceted historical event that has influenced various aspects of society, from crime investigation to social reform. Its enduring legacy continues to shape our understanding of urban life, media, and the complexities of human behavior. The quest to uncover the true identity of Jack the Ripper remains a testament to the ongoing fascination and impact of this enigmatic figure on both history and contemporary society.